What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Music Hacks Network. For those persons who are joining us for the first time, I am Chris Bailey, your host. In studios with us, we have a multi talented instrumentalist. His name is Joe Davis. Please hit that subscribe icon. Hit that subscribe icon, guys. Give us a like. Make sure you comment. Yes, and what I've been seeing on Instagram, I realize that you are a multi skilled musician.
Um, some would say so.
what, what do you mean some would say so? What do you
Um,
mean by that? Or all will say so?
thank you, appreciate it.
All right. How many instruments do you play?
Currently 12. Yeah, I believe so.
12. All of 12 instruments.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to ask you to quickly name all 12.
Okay, so I actually have the list just in case. All right, so we have the piano, the electric bass guitar, the drum set. I sing, I play the melodica, the acoustic slash electric guitar, the tenor steel pan, the euphonium, the vibraphone, the marimba, mixed percussion, and the triangle on a good day.
Oh my God. Where do you get time to practice all of these instruments, bro?
I don't.
Oh,
To be totally honest with you, I mean I do them as I find some free time, because the thing is, when I practice, I do go in with an agenda, but then the practice ends up turning into a jam session anyways. And I believe that you come out of every jam session learning something. And since COVID, it's been kind of hard to like jam with people and so forth and so on. But especially for multi-instrumentalists, when you jam with other people, you learn things, because you get to bounce your ideas off of these people, and you get people to bounce ideas off of you, and then you learn things, and then you come out and you've learned something. So I believe that you learn something whenever you have a jam session. So I mean, usually whenever I'm practicing these instruments, like I haven't been able to practice steel pan for a long time, and I haven't been able to practice euphonium for a long time. But with the instruments that I do play regularly, through making the arrangements that I make, through doing the content that I do on social media, I feel like that allows me to I mean, listening to other people as well, like listening to like the greats from back in the day, as well as listening to some people like on social media as well. It really does, you do learn from people. And so I feel like the majority of me like learning and practicing and stuff comes from that aspect of things. So yeah.
okay. The fact that you spend time playing all of these, is there a disadvantage? Because I know persons would have channeled most of their time into one main instrument, of which they master. But how do you balance all of these instruments?
Okay, so the thing is, I am not trying to become a master at every single instrument. I just want to be able to play them at a level proficient enough to be able to do to bring my vision to fruition, if that makes sense. I'm gonna quote that. Because I was originally taught classical piano. I was born and raised in London, UK, and I was taught classical piano under the ABRSM syllabus, which is like a teaching syllabus in the UK, or hosted by the UK. And essentially, I was playing piano from the age of 4 or 5 or 6 or around there. And I've been playing ever since. And I feel like piano is the instrument that I've definitely got the most expertise and the most experience in. I started playing no, I started playing trumpet actually when I was around the age of like 8. But then I dropped trumpet and switched to euphonium when I was around the age of 9. And I've been playing the drums for about 4 years now, around there. I'm 18 now, so like since I was like 14, 13, around there. And all of the other instruments I started playing since 2018. So I really I feel like I just had this moment where I just became interested in everything, and then I just became hyper fixated, and I just wanted to learn, and just soak up all of this knowledge from like wherever I can. And it has paid off so far, and I just want to be able to continue on this journey and learn more as time comes. But in
Yeah.
terms of disadvantage, advantage, I mean, as I said, I'm not trying to become like a master at all of these instruments, just enough for me to be able to be proficient and to be able to bring my vision to fruition with like my arrangements and stuff, because I know that whenever I have a vision, there's a thing with me. I always like to get it done in the moment. Otherwise, the vision's going to go away. And then if I have to like rely on other people because there are certain like delay times and stuff like that, I like to get things done like very, 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 very quickly. And so and also because like obviously I love music. So I really, really wanted to learn the other instruments so that I was able to expand my musical knowledge and just to be able to be more immersed in music itself. But I mean, applying the knowledge from those instruments into the craft that I do was a very, very important thing for me because of the delay times and stuff with like having to depend on other people that may not necessarily be reliable. And then you don't have anybody else to go to because you have a deadline not coming and so forth and so on. So, I mean, it's something that I'm working on as of current and something that I have been working on for a while, and I plan to continue to work on going into the future.
Yeah. Right. I've watched a few of your posts on IG, as I said, and I find them to be very creative.
Thank you.
Where does your creative process comes from?
So, I mean, majority of the content that I put on social media are in the form of arrangements. And with most of the content that I know that people listen to a lot, it comes from arrangements of popular songs, such as like your Charlie Puth songs, your Beyonce songs, and so forth. And I take the a cappella of that and I build a track underneath it. And that track is my own arrangement and interpretation of the popular song. And so I, I mean, it comes from listening, a lot of listening, because I have many, many musical inspirations and I listen to a lot of musicians and a lot of artists from back in the day up to very, very modern ones. And I just try to soak up as much knowledge as I can from these people so that I can apply it into my own craft, as I said before.
Or
And
some of those persons?
you have, my biggest inspiration right now is Jacob Collier, but you also have like some very, very notable ones from back in the day. You have your Stevie Wonders, your Herbie Hancocks, your Pharaoh Sanders, Luther Vandross, George Duke, and then even some more recent ones like Masego and FKJ. Like, they're just a lot of people nowadays and back in the day, a lot of people that I would just listen to in general, and they have helped me be able to craft my own sound in this way. And so I believe that it's listening to other people has definitely allowed me to refine my creative process and to be able to implement certain things that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of had I not listened to these things, you know? So I really do believe it's important to listen to other musicians and other artists, and including, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like these big celebrities, like even your people, like if you just do a quick Instagram hashtag search and you just search up guitar, and you find like a bunch of absolutely incredible guitarists on Instagram, and it goes for all instruments and so forth. And so even if you listen to like 3 a day and you just like transcribe, like, because Instagram only caps out at a minute, if you just like transcribe one of them, you'll have that in your arsenal to be able to apply that wherever you want. And so it's really, really important to listen to other people. And I believe that's where most, if not all, of the inspiration to do the stuff that I do comes from.
Okay, cool. How would you describe the sound that Joe Davis brings to the musical environment? How would you describe your sound?
Okay, so essentially, because, okay, this is a pretty, well, not vague question, but it's a difficult question to answer, because it's hard to say any one specific thing because I try to be as diverse as I possibly can. I try to stretch myself out over a few genres, and I try to basically, I try to just versatile. I just try to be as versatile and like I try to diversify myself as much as possible. So, I mean, I would consider myself a neo soul R&B jazz fusion type artist, and I take like influence from like a bunch of other genres and stuff like that. But I mean, primarily, I would say that I'm more R&B and neo soul with a heavy jazz influence. Um, with my tunes that are out on like Spotify and Apple Music, and one which is due to release on Saturday. Um, with these tunes, they're more on the R&B side, but then they definitely have like a very heavy jazz influence on it. And with some songs that I'm planning on releasing in the future that I just need to release, I take a lot of inspiration from other genres. Like you have folk. I'm really into that as of recently, and I'm thinking of like getting more into like drill and trap and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to soak up as much as I can to be able to like apply that with my own music, because I feel like that's really important, and because I love music so much, it's a very important thing for me that I feel like I should do. But I mean, my sound, it's hard to put it down to just one thing. I mean, with my arrangements and stuff, you can, I mean, with the chords and the harmonies and the certain like that we call them odd chords that I use, ODD chords that I use, and I mean, I wouldn't say that they're a defining factor of my music, because I know that a lot of people use those chords as well, and a lot of people do certain things, because it's very hard to come up with something that's completely unique in music nowadays. But I mean, as I said, I'm just trying to like find my own unique blend of all of these other artists and all of these other instruments. I mean, sorry, musicians that are out there today and have been out there for a while. So, I mean, it's just, I mean, I would put myself under the neo soul R&B umbrella, and then I would say like just think jazz and neo soul.
Awesome. All right. Let's look at your musical development, but I want you to give a broader perspective on this. How should young musicians, even younger than you and your age, how should they be preparing themselves in an era such as this? What are some of the things that they should be practicing in their daily schedule?
So the first thing that immediately came to mind was transcription, immediately. And doesn't necessarily mean transcribing solos, but transcribing chords, solos, melodic lines, all of these things. Like, I feel like it's a very essential thing to become a great musician. And I transcribe a lot. All of my music, every single musician friend that I know transcribes a lot. And as I said before, it doesn't matter who you're transcribing, as long as you're transcribing something new that you can implement into your craft. Doesn't matter which instrument, doesn't matter which whatever. It's really essential to learn how to transcribe. And it may, if your ear isn't as developed, it may take you a while to kickstart, and it may take you a while to develop the art of transcription. But I mean, once you have it on lock, and you can transcribe like 2 or 3 solos or 2 or 3 like chords like that you can implement in like any key per day, I feel like that's a really important thing to learn how to do, because as I said, you can implement that into your own craft, and then you can as I said, the blend, that's really important, to get a blend of your Jacob Collier, your Stevie Wonder, and your Prince in a unique way that you can then show that to people, and they can be like, oh, you know, I hear influences from that, but it really takes a good spin on it. So I feel like transcription is definitely a very important thing, and practicing, although I don't do it as much as I should, is definitely something that is really important as well. Because even as I said earlier, like, even if you're just like got to jam sessions, but then like you're listening out to hear certain things that other people do, and then like after the jam session, you go up to them and you're like, you know, how how did you go about this? How did you, you know, do whatever you did and stuff like that? So, you know, it's just something that is the transcription and practice, I think, are my main two things, and just like making sure that you develop your ear as well. That's something that's really important because, I mean, with a good ear, you're able with a good ear, you're able to transcribe a lot faster, and you're able to, pick up a key easier, whatever. So developing your ear is a very, very important thing. So I think those three pillars are the most important: practicing, transcription, and developing your ear.
Awesome, awesome. All right, Joe, I know that you are very serious in terms of developing your craft because you are currently a student at Berkeley, right?
Yes. Well, currently, right now, I'm a student at the Idlewild Arts Academy in California, but I have been accepted to Berkeley, and I will be going there in August, September.
Awesome. All right, cool. But can you give us a little what was the journey like making this decision? What inspired you to decide to venture into Berkeley?
So Berkeley has been, funnily enough, a live arrangement. So Berkeley has been my dream school for the past 4 or 5 years now, my dream college. And it was ever since I remember just getting like an audio message on WhatsApp, not a voice note, but like an actual audio on WhatsApp. And it was of this group from Berkeley called the Dreamers, who did a live arrangement of Happy by Pharrell Williams. And it was genuinely one of the best things I think I'd ever heard at the time. I remember listening to it on repeat. I didn't know what a live arrangement was at the time, but I remember listening to it on repeat, thinking, how is this so good? How did they do this? What is going on? And then from then I went to the person who sent it to me, and they're like, where do I find more of these? And he gave me just like a bunch of them, and I just listened to them repeat, rinse and repeat. And I found the common denominator term, which was live arrangement. And then I searched that in on YouTube, and then I just fell in love. But then I found that most of these were coming from the Berklee College of Music. So I was like, this actually seems kind of cool. But me being in Jamaica, and at this point, I hadn't fully decided that I wanted to go into music fully. I was just thinking, because I was at Campion at this time, I was just thinking, okay, graduate Campion, go UE or UTech or something, and then like do whatever I want to do. But it was my parents that helped me make the decision to be able to take my music to a next level. And I'm so grateful for them for that. And it was genuinely the best decision I'd ever made in my life, because we applied for the Idlewild Arts Academy back in 2019. That's just been absolutely delightful. That's been the best experience ever. Just the whole vibe of being in an educational space with like-minded people, studying what your passion is just such a blessing and such a privilege. And I'm really, really grateful for that. But it was at Idlewild. I applied for Berkeley, and then, COVID happened, and I did my audition in Montego Bay, just outside of my door over there, set up my whole setup out there. And I'm actually going to, in my presentation, show the people my Berkeley, a pre-recorded version of my Berkeley audition, and kind of dissect it and how I went about that. So I'm not going to spill too much here. But yeah, I mean, getting into Berkeley, that was just, when I got the acceptance letter, I almost cried. It was just remarkable. It was just such a, I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful and humbled by this opportunity. So yeah.
Awesome, sir. And we do wish you all the best on that venture. All right. As I said to Ariana, that's the dream for many of us musicians. All right. And I'm happy that you are living the dream for us. And so we wish you all the best. All right. Joe, I know you're gonna give your social media contacts somewhere in your presentation. All right. So what's the topic that you have chosen for us tonight?
So I've chosen reharmonization, along with the marriage of music and visuals, film.
Awesome. And why did you choose this topic?
I feel like that's an accurate representation of where I am now musically and what I'm trying to develop and what my area of expertise is right now. By no means am I saying I'm the best. I'm just saying that's the thing that I personally would say that is my strength above everything else. And so because I produce my own stuff that I put on social media, from the editing video side to the music side, I do that stuff. And so I feel like sharing that knowledge with other people will be beneficial. And it's also just like a casual way to just have a conversation with other people. And it's not like I'm not doing anything that would be, I mean, I'm going to try to like explain everything in an understandable way as this goes on. So yeah.
Awesome, sir. We do appreciate that you took the time out to be here with us. All right.
Thank
So
you.
at this time, all the persons who are viewing on YouTube, also on Zoom, do you have family on Zoom with us, Joe?
I
All
believe, I
right.
think my father is here. I'm not sure if my mother is here, but I do believe my father is here.
All right. We will definitely hear from Sir Davis before the Q&A. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I now present to you Mr. Joe Davis.
Okay. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever in the world you may be. So I'm basically going to be breaking down a couple projects that I have done over the past few months. And I'm just going to be going into them, going into the Logic projects that I have, and just kind of breaking it down and showing like what I was thinking when I was doing it. So the first one that I'm going to go off is my Star Spangled Banner, which is the United States national anthem. And so I'm going to just play it first so that you can like hear it if you're not familiar with it. And then I'm going to get into the Logic file and I'm going to kind of dissect it a little bit. So let me just share my screen really quickly. And okay, please let me know in the chat if you can hear this. Beautiful. All right, I will be muting myself momentarily. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and white stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glares, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the Cool. So that was, in case you didn't hear me before, the Star Spangled Banner, aka the United States national anthem, and that was my rearrangement of it. So I am currently opening up the Logic file of that so that I can kind of just talk through it and dissect some things. So let me just open it up really quickly. And I may get muted for a second because I'm routing my audio through Logic right now. So if I go muted, don't fear, everything is fine. All right. Okay, can you hear me? Please let me know in the chat. Wonderful. Okay, so let me share my Logic screen. And yes, okay, so this is, I spent all day today reorganizing all of my Logic projects because I tend to work based off of my ears and not based off of visually. So this looks a lot more organized than it did yesterday. But so this is the Logic project for the national anthem. It is at, that's not my record, but it's at 224 tracks. And my ability to be able to open this project, much less share it on Zoom, is due to the amazing new MacBook with the M1 chip that I got recently, which I'm very, very, very happy for. And if you're a music producer out there who has some money that you'd like to spend on a laptop, would 5,000% recommend the M1 MacBook. So yeah, so this is the project, and literally everything in this project is audio files except for these two up here, which are basically the two roads that I don't think this one is in use now. So this one is basically where I put the melody. So I usually just, I play the melody on a track, and then I basically just like build chords with another track, which is what that other one was for. I build the chords underneath it, and then I essentially open it up in the piano roll, which is this thing right here. And this is, if I just solo this track right here, this is the piano roll. And this is where, if you're unfamiliar with it, this is where you can see every individual note. So if I start playing it, this yellow thing right here is the, what we call the playhead. And so yeah, that's basically how that works. So what I did was build all of the chords underneath it. And then after I had built all of the chords, I just sang each note that I saw. And then I tried to not make the chords too dense when I was playing it, so that if I heard any inconsistencies after I'd finished recording it, I would be able to, you know, fill it in however I wanted, and it wouldn't be like clashing with the piano that I was playing. So yeah, so that was that. Now, another thing that I think is worth knowing is that every single voice that you just heard in that arrangement was recorded twice. So one was panned left slightly and one was panned right slightly. And if you don't know, if you're unfamiliar with panning, it's basically if you're using like a proper pair of headphones or a proper speaker system, there are, well, obviously you have two ears. So there are two headphones, and then you have the right ear and then the left ear. And then you can basically put it, like you can kind of have it more prominent in whichever one. So I recorded every single voice that you heard, recorded that twice, and then I put it in whichever ear I wanted to and kind of just fiddled with that. So this, which is what we call a track stack. So this is like this drop down menu right here allows you to see like everything that's inside of it. This is my melody track stack, and I colorized it so that you could basically see everything. Let me just move that so I can see it better. So this is the melody, and it doesn't look like the melody because the melody is one line and this looks like 50, but this is essentially the melody. So if I solo that, you'll hear, "Oh, say, can you see?" So yeah. Now the reason for there being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different instances of this one audio file is because I had 5 hours to do this arrangement, and I was not willing to wait to get it correct one time through the entire thing. So I did one line, and then I started over the recording, and with some clever crossfading in there, I managed to make it sound like it was one line. Yeah. So for example, this, that is a different instance. What's to that? So as you can see, because they're on like different tracks. So yeah, so that's my melody. And if I get down here, you will see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 different instances of this. And that's because when I don't know if you can call it a chorus, but when it says, "And the Rockets are good," yeah, the Rockets, basically I doubled that. I sang it on one note, and then, as I said, I sang it over, but then I also sang it an octave higher. So if I just me and the rocket, so you can hear that one of them is here. Oh, sorry, one of them is here. Sorry, one of them is here. The bombs burn. But then the other one is an octave higher, which is here. So yeah, so that's that part. But then, as I said, with the panning thing, so that, as you can see, like it has a plus 22, whatever. That basically just tells you how much to the left it is and how much to the right it is. So I panned, so if I can actually, I'm gonna put these where they're supposed to be. So that's panned over to the left, sorry, over to the right. Don't know my right from left. That's panned over to the right. That's panned over to the left. That's panned over to the right. That's panned over to the left. And these two are the lower ones, and then the other two are the higher ones. So that's basically how I did the melody for the rest of the tune, because as you can see, if I just like collapse all of these, essentially it is just 4 audio files that I have just panned differently. I forgot to pan that one. Well, I've already posted it, so that's not going to do anything, but regardless, yeah. So that's what I did for the melody, and that's the melody for the entire way through. And a fun fact for people who don't know, and you're getting exclusives here, the last note that I sang, if you remember, that was a total of 22 seconds. I did not actually sing for that total of 22 seconds, except for this one audio file, which almost killed my voice. But with some crossfading, I was able to record 3 instances of, what would that be, 7 1/3 seconds. And then I basically just like spliced them all together and made it sound like it was there. So if I actually solo this one track, it may become a lot more obvious to you. Hear that clicking? That's the audio file changing. So yeah, I said clever crossfading, and I didn't crossfade that at all. But regardless, so that's basically the melody. And if I now go into the meat of the project, let me just make this a lot more visible and collapse this. Okay, so the beginning, which was the which is this. That was also, as I said, everything is panned, so you have 2 instances of this. Actually, that was 3. And then you have 2 of these, and then so on and so forth. Not gonna waste your time here. But yeah, so that's essentially what I did. And so for the first, I'm gonna open up the first 2 verses. Let me solo these really quickly. Okay, yeah. So for the first 2 verses, what I did was basically I wanted to keep it like as like mellow as I possibly could, so that I could essentially just go crazy as time went on. So I mean, see by the dawn. I have the basses muted. Give me a second. The basses are down here. I like to keep the basses at the bottom of our project because basses are low, if you didn't know. So yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to keep it as mellow as possible, and so like that's all to do with like also the timbre of your voice and the way that you shape your vocal cords. So there's a difference between singing la and ah. Sorry if I just broke your eardrums. I sincerely apologize. But there's a distinct difference between both of them. And so and so I try to keep the more of the mellow tone in the beginning, and then like as time sorry Jonathan, as time went on, I just kind of just escalated that and just like went crazy. So let me actually turn this up a little bit. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, that's what I did. And I'm gonna just take a trip down to the basis for a second here, because if you didn't know, my voice is naturally relatively low, but then like I try to like, whenever I'm trying to sing stuff that needs a lot of bass, I have this really, really cool plugin called Little Alter Boy, and I don't have it on this MacBook because it was on my other one and I couldn't transfer it, which means I have to get it again, which costs money, which I'm considering not doing. But I mean, I use Little Alter Boy on these vocals, but I also sang them where they were supposed to be, because although my vocal range is low, it's not gonna sound absolutely perfect. And so I do need some help from the computer. And so if I play this and solo it, that didn't work. So that's my voice. And that was actually not using the plugin. That was just with some EQ, made it sound a lot bassier. And yeah. And yeah. So I made the I used the EQ to make my bass sound bassier and to like make it like sound a lot more like a hug as opposed to like a type thing, like someone's poking you or something like that. So yeah, that's what I did for the bass for the first verse. But then Lil Altar Boy comes in the second verse here. I don't know if you can call these verses, but the second section. Rocket's red glare. Yeah, I kind of messed up the vocal there, but yeah. So my voice is singing this. Sorry, my voice is singing this. Rocket's red glare. But then Lil Altar Boy took that and put it an octave lower, and then with messing with some of the settings, I was able to get this. Rocket's red glare. Which does sound mechanical, but then, as you can imagine, with the context of the rest of the tune, Rocket's red glare. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I did for the basis, and I think that's what I did for the basis for the rest of the tune, actually. Oh no, that's the end of the tune. But yeah, and at the end, I did actually sing it, but I think this is the wrong project, and I didn't have the time to transfer the right one. But at the end, I did sing the final note, which I cannot sing right now because I sang it when. Whenever I want to sing bass, I strive to get colds and I sing as soon as I wake up in the morning. So I have that morning voice plus my asthma voice plus my dry throat voice. So that equals a lot of bass. Let's just say that. So the last note is this. Actually, well, my mouth is kind of dry. Well, apparently I can, but I sang that very, very early in the morning. And I did use Lil Altar Boy and I sang it an octave higher, but I also doubled that with my own voice to kind of make it sound a lot. But someone's asking me to do it again. I can't do it again. Sorry. But yeah, so that was the final note and the final chord. Yeah. So now that I've gone over how I went about it, I'm going to go over some of the harmonic choices that I made here. So I actually have no idea whatsoever how the actual, I do have an idea, but I don't know like how the chords for the American national anthem are supposed to be. I just know the melody. So I just took the melody and then I just like reharmonized the chords out of thin air. So if I think the main harmonic beef starts here. Sorry, my piano track's unmuted. Okay, it starts here. And what I'm going to do actually is make it so that you can also see my keyboard, which I can do like that. And yes, I know Logic is very, very small on the screen now, but I mean, you don't really need to see it. So please tell me this works. Okay, cool, wonderful. Let me move my microphone a little bit closer. So E transpose, that makes sense. Okay, hold on. Okay. I'm assuming you cannot hear that. Let me fix that for you really quickly. Piano, that was not piano, and Steinway. Okay, can you hear this? Let me know in the chat. C major. Okay, cool. So okay, so the melody goes like this. So what I decided to do was, I'm not 100% certain, but because I don't know the chords, but what I decided to do was go with what we call a pedal note, which is basically like, well, it's a fifth pedal because it's the fifth degree of the scale. But I used a pedal note on the fifth, which is this. And let me actually go an octave lower. That. And I basically, I went down from, so that I could then go to there. So this will all make sense in a second, I promise you. But so I used the fifth pedal, and the chord that I was using, we're in A major, by the way. The chord that I was using was literally just a regular A major chord, but I just used the bass notes as an E, and I did this. And that kind of, that allowed me to go from the E, to go from the E to the B minor, which is the second chord that I was going to use, because the American national anthem is like, yeah. So I wanted to find a way. The way how I approach reharmonization is like a journey. So I want to bring my listeners on a journey. And so instead of going like, I decided I was going to bring them on a journey. And so the bass actually goes down in a scale instead of just going. So I ended up with this. And then I actually, if I go to the project, I actually didn't play the B there. Well, I did play the B, but not on the first beat of the bar. That chord is a very, very nice chord. But yeah, I didn't immediately play that B because I wanted to keep that tension and then be able to resolve it in a way that was really, really satisfying. So what I did was, which is a minor 7 flat 5, but I kind of just like added some extensions on there. But essentially the core of the chord is a minor 7 flat 5, and then 5 1. But the way how I got to there, as I said, the journey is very, very, very important. So I decided to go from the B down, and then I did a regular 2-5-1, a minor 2-5-1. And then the next chord was a 5, which sounds really, really nice. But actually, something that I need to let be known is that I used my favorite chord somewhere in here. It was actually, I landed on it. It's here. Now, that does sound just like this, but it's the flat 6 which adds the color to that chord, which makes it go from that to, but then because the base of the chord is still going to be that F sharp, I decided I was going to add that 6 in there so that I could resolve it to the 1, which is there. So as I said, all makes sense in a second, but I did this. As I said, the bass is always moving because it's always a journey. And then that goes back to the one after this, which is the 5. Now this is well, that's a little neat thing that I put in there because I don't believe that's in the actual anthem. But what I decided to do there was this is a very, very obvious instance of reharmonization because I don't know how it goes, but I'm assuming it goes something like, oh, sorry. But what I decided to do was this. And if you notice, once again, the bass is always moving because it's a journey. So I could have just been like, but I wanted to add that movement to add that journey. So I was like, and then the biggest chord of the whole song, which I put there just to purely for people's reaction. Sorry. Now, that's probably my favorite chord of the entire thing. And what that is an F major chord, just like a regular F major chord. But because it's coming from A major, what I did was take the actual melody note of that, and because the fifth degree of the A major scale is the seventh degree of the F major scale. And so because it's a part of the scale, the chord works with it. So the chord would have regularly been this. I think it's like something like, but then because that works, I was just like, you know what, let me just put it in there just purely because I know this is the climax of the song and people are just going to love it. So I did that. And then admittedly, because I was like very, very lost for time, I couldn't find a way to make that come back to the original, to the actual home key. So I just kind of cut off the bass line. Let me actually just go there really quickly. That's the chord. And that's kind of the route that I took. I just made the melody sing by itself and then I built the chords underneath that. So yeah. And that was just some reharmonization magic because the only note that was being played there is this. Wait, no, is this. Yeah. And so I just decided I was just going to go crazy and just make the most ridiculous chords that I could possibly come up with. And that's what happened. So that's that. And there is actually a sneaky major 7 in there. It does just sound like a regular, but it's actually not. I have that really, really sneakily in there. If I open up this microphone, man. If I open up the track stack and I go down a little bit, this is the chord, and it takes wow, that's actually a lot of notes. But this is the chord, and if I just solo the harmonies, I can show you exactly what builds up the chord. So the first thing that builds up the chord is obviously the melody, which is that. But then the other elements of the chord, that is just a triad in second inversion, and then first inversion, sorry, and then that all happened. But I'm gonna show you where that sneaky A flat is, which is here. Here, sorry. That that's not something that I had initially planned on putting in there, but your mind just passes over. You don't even realize that it's there because the chord just sounds like a regular major chord. But I decided to put that in there because A, it adds color, B, it adds a sense of home and like you're arriving back into somewhere, because the last chord was. So it really feels like you're arriving home. And by the way, if you're not a musician and you don't understand any of this, unless you like hearing my voice, I apologize for boring you. But that was the Star Spangled Banner. And I'm going to go on to the Jamaican National Anthem next. My arrangement of the Jamaican National Anthem, and same concept as before. I'm going to play it and then I'm going to go through it. So let me just share my screen real quickly, and I need to share in stereo this time so that you can hear it better. Okay. Let me know in the, wait, let me bring up the chat first. Okay. Let me know in the chat if you can hear this. Wonderful. All right, cool. Here we go. No breathing time.
Eternal Father, bless our land. Guard us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil powers. Be our light through countless hours. To our leaders, great defender, grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, 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 land we love. Teach us true respect for all. Stir response to duties. Courage, strengthen us the weak to cherish. Give us patience lest we perish. Knowledge send us, Heavenly Father. Grant true wisdom from above. Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, Jamaica. Jamaica, land we
Okay, so that just happened. That was my arrangement of Jamaica land.
Mighty
Oh
God.
my, blimey, that.
Lift him up, saints. Praise him, praise him. Praise him. Time to collect the offering. Mando ribiku su. Brother Fogel.
Let's just take a moment. Bow your heads. Close your eyes.
Thank you. I very much so appreciate it. But yeah, that was my arrangement of the Jamaica National Anthem. And I'm going to load up the Logic project. And as I said, may mute myself again because it's gonna reload, but give it a couple of seconds. Am I audible? Wonderful. All right, beautiful. So this is the Jamaican National Anthem. And I organized the American national anthem into track stacks, but I didn't do that for the Jamaican one because I did all of this today in the past 6 hours and didn't have the time, quite frankly. But yes, so this is the Jamaican national anthem. Same concept as before in the sense of I record everything twice. I did the melody in 4 parts, did the bass in 4 parts, used Lil Alto Boy, but still sang the bass, whatever. So what I'm going to do for this is basically just talk about the harmonic choices. Now, chances are, if you're on this live stream, you are Jamaican, or you are friends with someone who's Jamaican, or chances are you've heard the Jamaican national anthem before. And so I mean, I can play it. I can play how it's supposed to sound first before I show this, but assuming that you all know it already, there's no need for that. So I'm just gonna go over some of the harmonic choices, and I forgot what it sounded like. Hold on.
Our Father, bless
Okay, yeah.
our land.
So I made the conscious decision in both the American and Jamaican national anthem to just have. Oh, sorry, boss. Forgot to share my screen. Hold on. All right. There you go. All right. Can you see my screen now? Wonderful. Okay. So, yeah. So this is okay. I have to show it again. This is the Jamaican national anthem Logic project. It's how many tracks is this? This is 172, not a personal best, but never mind, 179. But it's big enough. So yeah, so this is what we're working with here. So I made the conscious decision in both the Jamaican and the American national anthem to only sing the start of the melody line a cappella so that the chords could come in and kind of fill in the space so that we kind of set the scene, you know what I mean? So that was what, let me show the piano again. Give me 2 seconds. That's a full screen. And bada bing, bada bosh. All right, cool. So you should be able to see the piano. And so the actual Jamaican national anthem goes like this. Not that second last chord, but the last chord, yes. So essentially, that was the Jamaican national anthem. And so the way how I decided to interpret that, the melody goes like this. Sorry. I left out the chords for the Eternal Father, left out the chords for the Eternal Father, bless our land, but then the chords came in for the Guard Us with That Mighty Hand, and I could have come in on the 2. I could have just come in like this. But I decided I was going to kind of lead into it because this arrangement, more than the American national anthem, was all about tension and release. Everything to do with this anthem had to do with tension and release. There's a lot of tension and release in this song. So what I did with literally the first chord that you hear was a 2-5-1 minor, but like it went from, I could have just gone, but I decided to go, and it makes life a whole lot easier that you can see the piano. What I did was basically just take the G sharp, whatever. Sorry, B. What am I talking about? A B minor chord, and basically I took the right hand and I started a semitone up and I just dropped it down, and then in the bass I just went from that. So, and then I continued as normal. think the entirety of the first verse was actually normal. I think that the craziness comes in with the second verse. And in the second verse, if you know anything about music, I used a lot of sus chords in this, and that's because sus chords are also chords that add tension. So if I go to the middle of this, that's too far in the middle. This, nope, that's still too far. Here, teach us true respect for all. Every single chord that you just heard, except for the last chord, had tension. Every single one. And that's why tension is important, because everything feels tense until it finally releases and you get that satisfaction. So once again, that's teach us true respect for all. And then the release. And same thing applies for the next one. Response to duties and I don't remember if it was the American national anthem that I said this in, but remember when I said that I went for the in the American one, I did the exact same thing in the Jamaican one. So, and one of my best friends actually loves this part the most, because in the bass, I start from the la and I go down to here. And if I solo the basses, I can actually show you that. That was hard to sing, let me just tell you that much. But yeah, that's what I did there. And and then after I had that really, really powerful bass moment, and actually something else I have to say about the bass is, with all of the bass notes that I sing that like are full, like really, really nice sounding bass notes, I add a fifth onto them. So if I go back to that part that I just showed you, right here. Sorry, there is a supporting fifth. Okay, there's a supporting fifth here, which really fills out the chord a lot. Oh, strengthen us, the weak church. Which it just sounds handsome, like it sounds very, very handsome. And I'm just gonna take a quick break here to ask you all, did you know that the piano actually isn't in tune? Believe it or not, although all instruments do tune to the piano isn't in tune. It uses a system called equal temperament, and that means it basically takes one note and goes exactly 100 cents up, and then that's exactly the distance away from every single note on the piano. That is not how life works, and that's not how music is in physics. So let me just show you. I see someone in the chat saying, let me take a break, but yeah, so for example, the easiest way for me to describe this is, that's a fifth. And what is that? Okay, let me not use that fifth because, okay, this is a fifth. And the only reason I didn't use the other one is because my voice is kind of tired right now, but same concept applies. But this is a fifth, right? And the natural place for a third to be in the fifth would be here. That sounds handsome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sing that third, and then I'm going to play where a third actually is, and you will hear how out of tune the piano actually is. Listen to this. You hear that? It's ridiculous. They've been lying to you this whole time. Boycott the music institutions. But regardless, yeah. So it's severely out of tune, and that's what we call never mind. That's what we call just intonation, and that's how things work in physics. And so a third is extremely sharp to where it actually should be in physics. And so what I did with this chord, which is something that I actually learned from Jacob Collier, but what I did with this chord was, because the chord is this. Sorry. Oh yeah. that just sounds bad to me. But that's the chord that I used. But the way how I basically sang it was not with that chord, but with the justly tuned third. So if I play that for you. Sorry, my audio track keeps on muting, but if I play that for you really quickly. That la, that's not where like an actual third is, because la, you hear it? Yeah. So that's what I decided to do. And that just adds an element of handsomeness to the chord, and it just makes it sound, you know, nicer, basically. So that's what I did for that. And that's really cool. So after I had that really, really powerful bass moment, I decided, okay, let's go full high end and let's just have fun with this. So I cracked my voice to get this. No, something like that. And then everything else came back in. That's my favorite part of the entire arrangement. Although there are some other interesting parts, that's my favorite part, because the original Jamaican national anthem goes as follows. Where was I? Okay. But remember what I said about the journey back in the American national anthem? That is incredibly important with any arrangement. So what I did was, instead of going, I wanted to travel and bring the listener on a journey from here to here. So I went, which sounds literally, I don't know why, but that just sounds beautiful to me. So knowledge send us, Heavenly Father. And then this was pretty normal. True wisdom from above. That was the bass thing. Justice, truth be ours forever. That was also a fun part that I did, because usually with the anthem, well, with some versions of the anthem, goes like this. Sorry. Yeah, but I decided I wasn't going to do that. I was going to defy the rules because I don't care. And I did this. Sorry, what was that? Sorry. Yeah, I basically I turned that major into a minor, and I just kind of ran with that idea. And all of the chords underneath built out to that. So that's what that was. And that was kind of like a really sneaky 2-5-1. And that is also one of my other favorite chords in this thing, because regularly it goes like this. So that's kind of like a suspended whatever. But I decided I was going to make it like a flat 7. So instead of being like, I decided to go. And that's what that was. And remember what I said about the journey? Same thing again. So if just focus on this general area of the keyboard. So no two notes that I just played were further than one in between note away from each other, if that makes sense. So everything was basically just playing in a line. There were no jumps or anything like that. And that's what I love to do in my arrangements. And you will, if you pay attention and like you try to dissect it, not to this level because you don't have the Logic project, but if you try to dissect it as much as you can from what you're hearing, you will hear that there's a lot of movement and like flowing movement as opposed to just jumping from one chord to the next. So that's what I did. I sang the lick here. I'm gonna just go into this track stack real quick and show you where I sang. Hold on. I think it was this. Nope. I think it was here. Yeah, the lick. Wonderful. Anyways, so yeah, that's your meme for the day. So that chord, that -7 flat 5 with a whatever extension it was. And then that kind of brought it back to the 5. And then usually it would go to the 1. But what I decided to do here was something actually kind of sneaky. I remember like I was watching a wedding just before this, before I actually like made this arrangement, and I decided I wanted to make Wedding March, like I wanted to incorporate Wedding March into this. And if you don't know that, that's that one. Yeah. So I did that in this form of this. It's not actually Wedding March, but it's like I had to alter it to fit the song. But yeah, that's what that was. And that's, remember the same like the pedal thing that I was talking about before with like holding one note in the bottom but then having the chords change on top? That's what was happening there, because the only note in the bass that you were hearing was this. And then the chord. And then I added the same like major 7 there that I always used, but that I used in the American National Anthem, but I made it a lot more obvious here because this is Jamaica and Jamaica is Jamaica. So yeah, so that is the Jamaican National Anthem. I hope you did enjoy. I took up a lot of time talking about those two things, so I'm gonna skip past a couple of stuff that I was going to do, and I'm going to talk about 2 more key talking points, and that is my Charlie Puth attention arrangement and a couple visual stuff, because this is also like one of my topics is visual. So let me open that really quickly. It's going to mute me again. Give me a second. Sorry, it takes a couple of seconds after the file loads for me to like be able to talk, because I have to create an audio track, and that's how you're hearing me. But so, yeah, Kyle Davidson, I know exactly what you mean. But yeah. So, this is Charlie Puth. Attention, my arrangement. And I've color coded it. It looks really, really nice and fancy and pretty. All of these individual white dots are notes, and all of these squiggles are audio waveforms. So I'm gonna take you on a tour through this, and by take you on a tour, I mean I'm just gonna show you it. So you know how in the middle, at the start of the song, it's like, let me actually bring this back. Turn down your volume. I should have said that before. I'm sorry. Anyway. Okay, instrument tour. So instrumentation for this song. Actually, I can't go through the whole instrumentation because it changes. But that part that you just heard was piano, Rhodes. I have a pad on there. I have I don't think I have a guitar actually, but I have some really, really nice, like sparkles. I have strings, I have a drum set, and I have a bass. And the bass is the thing at the bottom, the pink one. And yeah, you can kind of Logic is arranged in a very, very, very easy to organize way, which is why I like Logic more than any other digital audio workstation out there today. But yeah, so this is what we're doing. And I mean, I guess I could just like go through it. So this is Charlie, the red thing at the top. That's Charlie, that's the a cappella track. So if I just solo myself and then solo this, you'll hear. You can go on. Anyway, yeah, so that's Charlie. I'm gonna need to come in front of my mic. That is Charlie. And I have like on my other computer, like before I transferred everything, because I did that yesterday, I had a template that I use for like most of my live arrangements, which basically gives me the instrumentation out the box. And I used the instrumentation that I used on my, what was it? On the original Beyonce Irreplaceable live arrangement, which was like literally the second arrangement I ever did. You can go back through my Instagram and find that because I don't have the time. But yeah, so I used these same instruments for the Beyonce one, but I added some stuff that you'll hear later. But so the start of the song, turn on your volume if you turned it up to hear me. But the start of the song is like this. And that's just a, okay, you can hear that? Wait, this is transposed. Okay, still transposed, but I can't get it off. So what I used was this, actually, no. Okay, cool. So the song, because he doesn't sing here and there's no melody, I just decided, okay, I'm gonna do whichever chords I feel like. And so I just decided. Because the chord that I'm trying to land on is the 6, which is that. But I decided to kind of approach it from.
Check your keys.
Oh,
Joe.
yeah, sorry. All right, thank you. Yeah. Wait. Yes. Oh, I think I closed it. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, let me pull that over, pull that over, pull that over, pull that over. Bang. All right, cool. You can see it. Let me know in the chat, but I'm not going to be looking for now, but just let me know if you can see it.
Still no audio.
Oh, no, audio on the keys. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Better?
Awesome.
Sweet. All right. So what I did was just. So I basically just approached it in the context of a 2-5-1, but I kind of just went down from the 4. To any non-musician, once again, I apologize. Yeah. But yeah. But I didn't actually play on the downbeat of the 1. I waited a little bit and then I came in.
Run around, throwing that dirt all on my name. Cause I knew that I'd call you up. You would go around every party in LA. Cause I knew that I'd be at one.
Pretty like regular R&B beat.
I know that dress.
This is where the pads come in. I love that, was because you know how like the bass drives the actual song. I just decided to take that and go completely crazy on it. And then the next part, if you like Jamaican music, you will enjoy this. That was just that was dancehall. And basically like it's nothing too like mad. I just kind of kick and then snare and then hat and then yeah, and then the air horn as well. That was like I recorded myself playing an air horn on virtual DJ and imported it into here. Wonderful. But yeah, so that was the dancehall section. I'm actually speeding through this pretty quickly, so I may have some spare time at the end. still once again one of my favorite parts. And a chord that I want you to pay attention here is the second chord, which, well, you'll hear it.
I know that trust is karma, regret.
Which I really, 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 really enjoyed doing. Usually you wouldn't necessarily have that chord as a major 7 chord, but I decided to make it a major 7 chord because it sounds nice and Charlie's voice complemented it. So I was just like, and then I went back down to the 5, and then the 2, sorry, and then 5, and then 1. Yeah, so that's what happened.
I know that trust is karma, regret. You got me thinking back when you were mine. Now I'm all up on what you expect. Should have come in home with me tonight. You just want attention. You don't
And this is kind of me tapping into my country church vibes.
attention. You don't want my heart. Maybe you just hate that what I'm with. Want you hot. Yeah, you just want attention. I knew from the start. You're just making sure I'm living
Yeah, that was mental. And then this part, I don't know what genre to call this, but I mean, I just call it arrangement. But so this is where I kind of like had some fun with pads, and like the drum was actually like, I think when I was recording drums for this, I ended up like, when I was recording the video for it, I ended up getting it right the second time, but then re-recording it another 5 times just because I love playing drums on it so much. But yeah. Okay, this is an interesting part now. So I take a piano solo with Charlie Puth. And let's just say I built some interesting chords underneath his voice, and they are not the chords that you would usually hear on the song.
I know that trust is karma, perfume regret. You got me thinking about when you were mine. And now I'm all up on you, what you expect. You should not call that home with me tonight.
So that was it. The bass, the B-A-S-E, the foundation of the chord progression actually isn't that complicated. It's just, hold on. It's actually the same thing as a pre-chorus, which is. But it's the voicings that make it sound nice. So for example, my favorite voicing in the entire universe, well, sorry, second favorite voicing in the entire universe is this. That there. So that functions as a Og7 sharp 9, a G, well, it's a fifth Og7 sharp 9. And then, yeah, simple, go back to the thing.
And now I'm all up on you.
Minus 7 flat 5.
What you expect? You should not call that home with me tonight.
And then this part kind of goes, I do a synchronized whatever on every instrument, which I do that on every single one of my arrangements.
You just want attention. You don't want my heart. Maybe you just think that's what I'm with someone new. Yeah, you just want attention. I knew from the start. You're just making sure I'm never again for you.
Okay, let me just talk about that for a second. So the run was, I'm gonna play solo the piano track so you know what I'm doing. So this is the run. Yeah, and I did that on every instrument. And then it basically comes back with like the same chord progression as you're hearing throughout the entire thing, except everything is now playing and everything is now playing like ridiculously. Offbeat, love those. Now that was fun. So yeah. So wow. So that, well, okay, so that isn't the chord that you hear on the original Attention by Charlie Puth, but I decided to completely try to like block out any form of the original song that I could think of and just think complete reharmonization. So I think it was like, so remember how with the American National Anthem, what I did was use the 7th degree of the F major scale to basically do, and this is transposed, so I don't know where F is, but it's supposed to be there, but yeah. But I decided to do the same with this arrangement, and I did that because Charlie sings that, Charlie sings this, and then these are 2 notes that are found in the scale. And so I decided, all right, major 7, whatever. But because remember, the key that we're in is not necessarily like, you wouldn't find that chord in that key. So I just decided to use that and then kind of use tritone substitution, which basically, if you don't know what that is you use the tritone of a 5 chord as a substitution to get back to the 1 chord. That's the easiest way I can possibly explain it. So that would be, so regularly it would be like, regularly it would be here. But I decided to be like, same concept, same color, same texture, same whatever. Ouch. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. But yeah, that's what happened. So. And fun drum fill there. And then if you've seen the video for that, I'm at the drum kit and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, second take. Oh my gosh, yeah. And then I go and record it 5 more times because I just like recording drums. But yeah, so that's Charlie Puth. And I hope you guys did enjoy that, because that is still to this day probably probably not my favorite, but one of my favorite arrangements. So I'm really, really, really happy with that one. So that's it for dissecting arrangements. So I'm gonna step away or roll away from the keyboard. The next, well, the final topic that I want to talk about is how I implement visuals with music and how I go about doing my like visual stuff. So if I stop sharing, and then I'm going to make a new Logic project to minimize the latency with me talking. So let me just do that really quickly. It's going to mute myself again. You know the drill. Can you hear me? Cool. I just assumed that you could. Let me know in the chat. All right. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. So I am going to show you, I'm not going to play through all of these 3 videos, but I'm going to show you snippets of these 3 videos and just like kind of explain how I went about it. So the first video that I'm going to, oh, Ivad's here, what's up? The first video I'm going to show you is my, well, I was going to say something mad there. I was going to say my collaboration with her, but it wasn't really a collaboration. It was a contest that I entered, but I'm going to show you the video that I made for that. And share my audio in stereo and share. All right, cool. So this is her, which is, well, this is Life's Good, which was a song for a competition that I entered by her. And I'm not gonna like play all the way through and then like, I'm gonna talk about it as it goes along so that I waste the least amount of time. But so this is it.
Joe Davis music.
First of all, crickets. Anyway.
Her music official. LG Global. Let's do this.
You can just tell him in Jamaica.
Smiling's free and tomorrow may.
Okay, this looks mad. This admittedly looks kind of crazy. So what I basically did, that room is this room, except the green screen wasn't there because this was done a while ago. And I basically reorganized my room and I put my camera in the corner and I basically had it rolling for about 45 minutes. And I had to delete pretty much everything on my phone, but I had it rolling for about 45 minutes. And I just I had to be as quick as I possibly could. And I ran from instrument to instrument and I recorded one long take of each instrument. Then what I did was run it into my editing software. And then I did what we call masking, which is basically cutting out a specific segment of the video and then making that segment transparent so that you can then layer it on top of other segments of the video. Now, the reason that you don't want the camera to shift is because if you try to mask it with a shifted camera, it's just not going to be positioned correctly. And then what you need is for the background to stay so that it gives the illusion that you are cut out of the frame and you are talking, you are playing with yourself. Playing music with yourself. So this is, I'm just gonna go back a little bit so I can show you the thing in the arrangement. You heard nothing. So this is what we have.
Smiling's free and tomorrow may.
I'm sorry.
When the seasons change, it may not be easy, but I know we'll make sunshine on rainy days.
Says welcome to Jamrock. You'll hear why in a sec.
Ooh, life is good, even with all my doubts. Oh, with faith I know.
Something actually here. You notice how this guy, never heard of him before, he's really close to this guy. That was a problem because what I didn't realize was that my phone was on auto exposure, which basically means that it adjusts the lighting based on what's in focus in the video. And that's not fun because when I'm masking, I want everything to be at one consistent level so that when I apply the mask onto a layer and then I drag that on top of another video layer, it doesn't show that the bottom layer is like darker or lighter or anything like that. So what I had to do was do exposure keyframing, which basically means I had to with each individual frame, make sure that it was an identical exposure to the video that was underneath it. And this would be a lot better with a visual representation, but everything is on my other laptop, which I just moved. But I could take out my graphics tab. No, I couldn't, no. But essentially, yeah. So I had auto exposure on. So I had a lot of work to do with this guy, trying to get him to basically fit in here. Because what I would do is feather it, which is basically fade the mask to make it not a hard selection, but a kind of gradient selection so that it wouldn't be as harsh of a thing. But as you can see, these two kids are really close to each other. And hence it's kind of hard for me to be able to feather it without chopping off this man's foot or chopping off this guy's arm. So I had to keyframe expose it. And that was not fun because going through each individual frame, because there are 24, 30, but I used 24 in a second. And this was about 20 seconds of footage. So that's 480 frames that I had to individually set, which was not fun, but you do what you gotta do for the content. But yeah, so I'm gonna just play the rest of this.
We'll get there somehow. There may be some.
Well, now I use Premiere Pro, but I was using, someone in the chat asked if I'm using Premiere Pro, but I used Final Cut Pro for this, but I use Premiere now because Final Cut, yeah.
Plans that we have to face, and I know we'll make a way, and I know we'll make a way.
Jazz break. And this was pretty standard in terms of the editing. It's the same thing as the first one.
Oh, someday
Yes, my signature is using an electric bass in an upright position whenever I'm playing like jazz or anything like that. It's just something that people have come to know me for now.
will have my
I'm gonna play that over because that run is nice.
someday I will have my paradise. Somewhere where the music gets me paralyzed. But until then I'm still content with my surprise. Cause that's special in my eyes. My eyes. Life is good.
If you haven't noticed, we're in a new key now. And that's because I made the very mischievous decision of slipping that major seventh in there on the third last chord, I think. And so I was able to use that as a pedal point to basically modulate to the key. So here we are.
Even with all my doubts.
And that is right there. So everything was shot in my room.
Oh, with faith I know we'll get there somehow. And there may be some problems that we have to face, but I know we'll make a way. A way, a way.
I remember I showed that to my dad the first time when we were both dying on the floor laughing. But yeah, so this guy comes out to nowhere. Same concept of masking and whatever, and that happened, and yeah. You could see me looking over at myself there, but this is why wearing sunglasses is such a blessing, and having sunglasses as my signature is a real blessing, because I can fake basically, okay, let me explain. So it looks like I'm just looking at this guy waiting for a cue from him. But what I'm actually doing is in the sunglasses, looking at my monitor to see when the waveform peaks so that I can then do the head thing, which is this. And so, yeah, that happened. So that is Life's Good by her. I'm going to show you, should I do a couple or just one more video? Oh, I forgot to take you on my Berkeley audition. Well, all right, whatever. Let's do that then. I was going to show you 3 videos, but I'm just going to show you 2 because I'm going to have to open up Logic in a second to show you how this all works. But remember how I said, because I'd said that I was going to do this before. So at the start of the stream, I had said, okay, I am going to show you my Berkeley audition, or a pre-recording of my Berkeley audition. My Berkeley audition was not done here. It was done outside, but this is the same kind of setup. Yes, that green screen has stayed, except I've pasted it down now, but it still functions as a green screen. 21 pieces of cartridge paper, and proud. But yeah, so this is my Berkeley audition. I'm gonna just play through it and then kind of stop at points where it's important. This is my song called All I Need, released September 1st, 2020. Stream it if you haven't streamed it already. Joe Davis, Apple Music, Spotify, all those good stuff. But yeah.
My love.
Pause. So funny thing about this isn't the official All I Need, because I have a certain time for my Berkeley audition. I couldn't fit the entirety of the song into the amount of time that I had, as well as the other special stuff that I'm going to show you later. Yes, I do love that shirt, as you can see. But yeah. So this is All I Need, but it's just a shortened version to fit Berkeley's standards.
Although, yeah, if only I could make you.
So here it sounds like I'm mechanically changing my voice or whatever. All of this is recorded in, well, okay, not all of it. There is a track, but everything that you're seeing, I'm actually doing in real time. There's no editing that I did after I recorded all of this. So this is normally where the song would kind of just die down. Well, not normally because it's an edit, but this is where the song would kind of mellow down and simmer down and kind of finish. But what I decided was I was going to copy and paste the track of the song and do this with it. If you don't have headphones, grab them because this next part is a bass solo, but that was the piano solo and bass solo now. In real time. This is where it gets fun. Wait a sec. Edited the track a little bit. Off beats, love them. What genre next? Trading eights, fours. And then I went back to the piano to end it off. This is what should have happened when the solos happened. It was like an off-brand lick right there, but that's a flattering screenshot. Anyway, so that was my Berkeley audition for All I Need, and I'm gonna load the Logic project because that looked like just because I was jumping like from instrument to instrument. I just want to kind of go over just a couple of things because I'm about to end, but just a couple of things just to make this make sense. But essentially, I'm gonna open that without closing the project. Mic check 1 2. All right, beautiful. So essentially, yeah. So let me share my screen really quickly. All right, chat me. Can you see my screen? Yes or no? Wonderful, cool. So so this is the Logic file that I use to record All I Need. Now I have this like. Well, I'm gonna explain everything. So essentially, this is the backing track. So this has like certain pieces missing. So like for example, here, there's no bass. Here, there's no piano, and then here, there's no drums. Reggae part. Reggae without drums just doesn't sound full. It just doesn't make sense. But then the jazz part. We trade fours with nothing, you know, just regular vibe. Oh, 2 3. Yeah, but that's what happened. So basically, these are the instruments that I was using. So I had a piano. I did not use this. I don't know why that's there. I had a piano. I had a drum set, and I had a bass. And I had my voice, but I automated it in a way that I wouldn't have to, so that you can hear me. But yeah, so this was the track that I used for my voice, and it would have regularly been automated like that. But what I did was I had the track on one file on one track, the backing track on a Logic track. And then I basically had everything only automated to turn up whenever I'm playing it. And I wasn't originally going to do this, but the reason that I started doing it was because I was doing a run through of it. And I took up the bass to play it, and then I put it back down, but then it started doing what a bass does when you put it down and you don't mute it. And so essentially I had to basically automate it so that it only turned on when it was supposed to turn on. And it was kind of, because what I was going to do is I was going to switch the tracks like whenever I was going to use it. So like I would literally, that was poor joke. Someone in the chat just made a very, very bad joke. But yeah, essentially I was going to originally switch it between the tracks, but I decided not to because it was like, it's just like, I don't want to have to waste time having to stop playing the piano to then come over here, to then go over to the bass, to then come over here, to then go over the piano and whatever, right? So essentially, what I say essentially a lot, I apologize. But what I did was I automated everything. So like up until the piano solo, nothing is heard. And then the vocals are muted with the piano solo because like I'm going to be, if I had the vocals like unmuted the entire time and I was playing the drum kit, you'd hear the sound of the stick hitting the electric drum, and it doesn't necessarily, because it's an electric drum kit, you wouldn't expect it to sound loud. But let me just yeah, it's yeah. So it's not, it would be quite the disturbance if I were to have the vocal track unmuted the entire time. But so I automated the vocal track to mute itself when the piano solo started, and then the piano solo finished and the bass solo started, and then that unmuted, which was a very necessary. And that's the reason why I took the automation off the vocal, which was a very necessary thing because of the issue that I had talked about before. And then the bass solo finished, the drum solo started, and then I had fun with the reggae. I just love reggae on All I Need. Yes, nice. But that happened, and then drum solo finished. And then what I was going to do was, because if you notice, there is some automation data here on the vocal track. What I was going to do was basically have this part. Can't bother with myself now. What I was going to do was have this part muted, and so the vocals would be muted all the way up until the end, and then I would sing and play the piano at the same time. But I couldn't position the microphone in a way to reach to like be at the piano so that I could sing at the same time as playing, which was annoying, but you know, you do what you have to do. I mean, they already heard my voice, so it's okay. So essentially, yeah, I just automated everything to make sense, and that's how I went about doing this. And popcorn.
Why the Lord said.
Oh yeah. Because okay. Another thing that I did at the end of, you know, at the end of the audition, what I did was, I don't know if any of you have seen it, but I basically did an arrangement of popcorn in this like viral video that like went viral on Jamaican social media. And I'm gonna find it really quickly and talk while I find it. But essentially I took that and I put it at the end of my arrangement, and then I unmuted the piano track, and I was going to play the thing that I did in that over it. And Instagram is taking too long to scroll to get to it. I say that and I reached it immediately. So I'm gonna share back my screen, and I'm going to show you this just for, you know, lols. All right. So if any of you remember 2019 Joseph, who didn't have any hair, and my old piano, and this is the same room, but just set up differently. But I'm going to show you what this is.
Eat and be satisfied. Oh,
I have nothing to do with my time. But yeah, so that was the popcorn dub cover, whatever you want to call it. And I basically put that at the end of my Berkeley arrangement. Yes, Charles Cornell very heavily influenced that. But yeah, put that at the end of my arrangement, and that's what I'd used for that. But yeah, I think that concludes my presentation. I hope you all did enjoy, for those who are musical or know about music theory or anything music. If you didn't, then I'm sorry for wasting the past hour of your life, and you can't get that back. So my sincerest apology.